So about that Mothman.
I love him. I've added photos to our house that I made sure are clean of bugs, and I live in the basement so that I can sleep as close to my underground husband as I can. I call him Maggie.
Mothman lives in an abandoned lumber camp with an abandoned mill somewhere deep in Forest Park. In the mill itself, there are cages built by Mothman himself with his tremendous strength, with his potent blood. He is able to rouse to great strength and has potence at least 5. Magnus the Cannibal, also known as Mothman, is a blood leech. He eats only other kindred, and he is the reason why there is so much unclaimed territory to the west of the hills. That is his feeding territory. In the beginning, he hunted only kindred for moral reasons. Then it became an obsession. The high of the blood, the high of the bond, and the high of killing. Now it is a necessity. He cannot do anything else. And he has hunted the area dry. He's kept captives before, but eventually he has to kill them before he succumbs to the blood bond entirely and frees them. He has fled humanity to the ends of the earth, and humanity has followed. He realizes now that humanity will not be stopped. They are building a tunnel through his hills, and civilization will find him. He needs to figure out how modern society works, and Betsy can teach him that. Betsy has been teaching Mothman how to do that.
Yeah, so Blockbuster Video. We're finding a cheap, shitty TV VCR combo, and I'm showing him the most influential movies of all time I can get my hands on. Because entertainment is very, very important to modern society, and I give a glimpse of what's going on. I show him Saving Private Ryan, I show him Titanic, I show him other big, expensive movies about historical events. Get him really caught up on what's going on. We're watching Schindler's List.
He asks questions like a child. He has not been around people for so long that some of the most basic things seem strange to him.
Can I figure out when he was last in touch with humans? Was the last time he was updated the 1600s, the 600s, the
No.
negative 6000s?
He speaks English, so his most recent encounters with humans were probably following the Oregon Trail.
Interesting. Okay, then I definitely show him Westerns as sort of what happened next.
He has been feeding off of a group of Nosferatu that live in these hills. He unfortunately lost control a few times, and eventually, over the decades, he lost all but one that he was saving for a special occasion, and now that one is dead at someone else's hand. Similarly, Dick has been staying at Samuel's old place, watching movies, and occasionally flying out and about looking for strange things, checking in every now and then on the Laurelhurst pack. On one of these nights, when out and about flying over the hills looking for something strange, Dick is expecting to find maybe some other werewolves, maybe somebody to gather forces, but maybe some overt display of vampirism. But what Dick did not expect to see
was this overt display of vampirism.
Was Mothman carrying Betsy in his arms, flying over the hills, while Betsy is belting a whole
new world. A jazz.
What is the meaning of romance?
Knew. But when I'm way up here, it's crystal clear that now I'm in a whole new world with you.
Well, no romantic evening is complete without a peeping Tom teenager following 1 to 300 feet behind.
And while Dick rolled fairly well on stealth, Mothman got a massive critical and noticed the Raven following. Of course, as he gets absolutely no sustenance from animals and doesn't view birds as a threat, doesn't really care, and will continue to fly. Dick will follow, trying best to stay in the blind spot, but the blind spot of a Mothman is not the blind spot of a man, or the blind spot of a bird, for that matter.
I'm just following them until they land.
You will follow them all the way back home to an abandoned logging camp. Looks like it hasn't been touched for probably 100 years. They fly up to the one building that has lights on, the mill, and a light. It is only in the light of the doorway as they open it that you recognize first how moth-like this creature is. This is very much Mothman.
Betsy, and I read 1 or 2 magazines. I was very, very interested. I chatted at length with Betsy about Mothman.
There's pictures of Mothman doing social shit on my jacket. It's pretty 1-to-1, I assume.
As Betsy opens the door, giving Mothman a kiss goodbye, as Mothman will go out to patrol, you see them both in full lighting, the Mothman and Betsy.
Excitedly, I'll literally flutter down, is also literally 2 years old. Doesn't have the social awareness to fully understand why everybody didn't like Betsy. I didn't like some of the people she was hanging out with, but somebody I identify as a friend has made their life dream come true. So Dick literally flutters down from a tree, transforms back into a 16-year-old boy, and is just, oh my god, really good for you, bud. 100% good for you.
Mothman will crouch defensively in front of Betsy and give a strange, fluttering, hissing noise that doesn't come from its face, but comes from its wings rubbing together.
Betsy, surprised, will gasp and stumble back before saying,
Yeah, I live just... And Dick will point vaguely in a direction that may or may not have been actually the direction that he lives, practically down the street, if this guy had street.
Down the back of the street.
How does Magnuson respond? Is he still crouched and silent?
The fluttering hissing. You know this, Dick.
Yes, this is a boy from a homeless encampment in Portland. He's a were-raven.
Yeah.
He's 2 years old?
Now this close, I can smell that there's 2 distinct vampire smells. I'm sure Magnus smells old and very vampiric, and Betsy still smells like vaguely human.
He smells like dried insects, sort of musty. It doesn't have the same kind of death smell that you're used to Kindred having. It's kind of off-putting, that it's not as off-putting.
Oh, you smell interesting, and so do you.
Smells dead.
Yes, it turned out Maggie here was able to free me from my social conditioning by draining it from me.
Well, I'll be damned. So you're just the cool Betsy now.
Betsy sticks a hand out for a handshake and says, "Nice to meet you."
Pulls her for the handshake. As you stick your hand out for the handshake, Magnus will step aside and stand up straighter. As you pull Betsy in for a hug, Magnus says, "We have need for the larder. He is gangrel."
I don't think you're a vampire, are you?
No, I'm more closely related to the wolfkin, but I was raised by a vampire, so a smell of one.
A lot of the hostility will go out of him.
That's right. You would know a lot about what happens with the Italian-sounding people's court, yeah? Because your dad worked for him.
Oh yeah, the Camarilla.
This would be someone to talk to, yes, about them.
I have contacts with them. They sometimes hire me for work. Dick will lean in really close and say, "You don't like Camarilla, do you?"
Magnus will look around. The Camarilla?
That's the name of one of the big vampire groups in town. There's the Camarilla, and it seems like the Anarch.
Yes.
I work with the Camarilla.
But then they killed your dad.
Yeah, Dick is like trying to suss out if they like the Camarilla, because Dick is down to work towards the downfall of the Camarilla.
Seems like I don't know what it is, and it seems like Magnuson doesn't know what it is either.
Nope, no idea.
They're these political douchebags. They're all about maintaining masquerade, which I'm all for. I don't want to fuck with. But they did kill my father. Got him ripped to pieces. I laid in there waiting. I mean, I'm sure he has some written records. I haven't been able to bring myself really to go through his journal and stuff to really go over the... Yeah. But, I mean, if it would be helpful to y'all, just recovering the journal and any little bits or bobs that I have written down.
Well, then, let us end the scene with Magnus acknowledging that he has no quarrel with the Guru, and you are safe by his terms. He would appreciate it if you would take Betsy along to find these journals of yours and explain as much as you can. A pleasure to meet you, Dick.
Pleasure to meet you as well, Matt.
Return safely, Betsy.
Will do. I blow him a kiss, and then start walking for where my car is parked nearby.
He will catch the kiss and slurp it up with his proboscis.
Betsy visibly shudders at that positively, but makes her way to the car.